Friends, today I'm going to share the story of a woman who experienced something truly disturbing, something done to her by a taxi driver that changed everything. But what happened that night didn't just leave a mark on her life. It carries a powerful lesson for all of us. What did the taxi driver do, and how did it all take such a shocking turn? You'll find out in this video, so make sure to watch until the very end. This story isn't just a tale, it's a reflection of a harsh reality. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying content like this, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss an eye-opening story like this again. Now, let's begin today's story. It was getting late, and I had been standing at the taxi stand for what felt like hours. Nights slowly enveloped the city, turning familiar streets into lonely, shadowed pathways. I glanced at my watch impatiently. Midnight had already arrived, and the bustling city had become eerily quiet. My home was far away, and the thought of driving back alone seemed exhausting. I silently hoped to find a passenger whose destination matched mine, making my journey home easier and perhaps earning me a bit extra in the process. Several people approached inquiring about rides, but their destinations didn't align with mine, so I politely declined. My intention was straightforward. I just wanted to head home, rest, and forget the stress of the long day behind me. Just as my patience began to wear thin, fortune smiled upon me. Around 15 minutes past midnight, a figure approached my taxi through the dimly lit surroundings. As she stepped closer, the streetlights revealed her clearly, a remarkably beautiful woman, around 35 or 40 years old, her face delicate, her presence graceful yet compelling. Her striking appearance immediately captured my attention, igniting something within me that I hadn't felt in quite a while. She softly asked, "Can you take me to my destination?" Her voice was calm and gentle, yet beneath its surface, a sense of urgency was evident. "Where would you like to go?" I replied, trying to sound professional, but unable to hide my curiosity. She mentioned an address, an area that lay far from my own route home. Despite this inconvenience, I found myself nodding eagerly, a strange excitement guiding my actions. "Sure," I quickly said, "but the fare would be double because it's late." Without hesitation, she agreed. Perhaps she needed to get home urgently, or perhaps, like me, she simply wanted the day to end. I opened the rear passenger door, allowing her to settle comfortably in the back seat. As I drove off, my eyes repeatedly glanced back through the rearview mirror, catching glimpses of her elegant silhouette, softly illuminated by the glow of her mobile phone. The roads were mostly deserted now, bathed in the silence of the deep night. Trying to break the awkward quiet, I casually asked, "Mom, isn't it a bit unusual to be traveling alone to such a deserted area at this late hour? There aren't many houses or even lights out there." She glanced up from her phone, smiling gently. "That's where I live," she explained calmly. "I was visiting my sister, and now I'm returning home. I'm used to traveling alone. It doesn't bother me." I nodded, offering no further questions, though my curiosity deepened. As we drove on, I deliberately slowed my taxi slightly, prolonging our journey to quietly savor the strange allure emanating from her presence. My heart raced as I stole occasional glances at her beauty reflected in the mirror. I remembered my own home then, empty and cold. My wife had left for her mother's home, and I'd been alone for days. This solitude had slowly turned into frustration, and tonight, the presence of this mesmerizing stranger had awakened feelings within me that I had long buried. The darker side of my desires stirred, fueled by my loneliness. Without thinking, I asked her softly, "Don't you get scared traveling alone at night, especially in such isolated places?" She chuckled lightly, and the sound gentle and captivating. "No, I don't get scared. I have learned how to handle myself. When you live alone, you adjust." With that, the conversation faded, replaced again by silence, deepening the tension inside me. A mischievous thought crossed my mind. Pretending something was wrong, I deliberately turned off the taxi's air conditioning. Soon, the car became stiflingly hot, suffocating almost. She quickly noticed, fanning herself lightly. "Why isn't the air conditioning working?" she asked, a hint of concern in her voice. Feigning innocence, I replied, "I'm not sure. It was giving trouble lately. Let's keep the windows up though, Mum. This area isn't safe." She looked slightly uncomfortable, but didn't protest. Instead, I suggested innocently, "Maybe you can take off your shawl to feel a little more comfortable." Trustingly, she followed my advice, slipping off her shawl and placing it aside. My heart quickened at the sight. Her beauty was now more vividly visible under the dim interior light. She appeared even more alluring, her skin glowing softly from the heat, her delicate features becoming clearer. As minutes passed, I handed her a bottle of water, deliberately brushing my fingers against hers. Her skin was incredibly soft, a sensation that sent chills through my body. Without speaking, she took the water, sipping slowly before pouring a little onto her head, dampening her clothes slightly, further enhancing her beauty. Watching her, my thoughts turned darker, more intense. My life with my wife flashed briefly in my mind. A marriage without affection, forced upon me by family obligations. My wife, Noreen, was simple, lacking the feminine charm and appeal I deeply desired. Our marriage was lifeless, devoid of passion, leaving me hungry for something more, something fulfilling, something like the woman sitting silently behind me now. My loneliness intensified, my desires burned hotter, and my moral compass began to blur. Glancing again into the mirror, I saw her resting her head back against the seat, eyes closed in a moment of rest. I felt my resolve weakening, and unable to resist the temptation, I quietly diverted my route towards a secluded taxi stand that lay abandoned this time of night. Stopping the car, I climbed quietly into the back seat. She woke instantly, startled and confused, eyes wide with alarm. Before she could react further, I quickly raised my finger to my lips, whispering softly yet firmly, "Shh, don't worry, I just fixed the AC." Her confusion softened slightly, though uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "But why have you stopped?" "My home is still far from here," she said nervously, pulling herself slightly back. Moving closer, a dangerous mix of excitement and adrenaline surged through me. My voice dropped to a whisper tinged with desire. "I thought we could spend some time together. You're incredibly beautiful, and tonight could become unforgettable for both of us." I reached for her gently, my fingers brushing her dampened clothing. To my astonishment, rather than protesting loudly or pushing me away, she simply stared back silently, her expression unreadable in the shadows. The night was quiet, our surroundings utterly isolated. I assumed no one would hear us, no one would interrupt. Confidence swelled within me, erasing any sense of fear or hesitation. Gently but deliberately, I touched the zipper of her blouse, slowly moving it downward, revealing her flawless shoulders beneath the dim interior light. Her lack of resistance encouraged me further, emboldened by the strange, intoxicating calm in her eyes. Believing this moment to be mutual, I leaned in closer, letting my guard down entirely, blinded by the allure of this unexpected encounter. It was only when she suddenly shifted beneath me that I realized something was terribly wrong. Her hand reached quickly into her purse. Before I could understand or respond, the sharp gleam of a knife caught my eye, pressing firmly against my lower abdomen. My heart froze in shock, my breath catching sharply. Looking deep into my frightened eyes, her voice was icy, yet surprisingly calm. "Don't move. The night's only just begun." A chilling surge of fear overtook me as the sharp edge of the knife pressed deeper against my abdomen, its coldness piercing through the thin fabric of my shirt. My body froze, breath stuck painfully in my throat, eyes locked onto hers. The gentle, soft eyes that had once captivated me now burned fiercely, revealing a hidden storm of anger and disgust. I struggled to comprehend the sudden shift. This beautiful stranger had turned from vulnerable prey into a fierce predator. She leaned in closer, her voice now a menacing whisper. "What's wrong? Just moments ago, you were eager to take advantage of my loneliness, weren't you?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm, each word piercing through my conscience. "Did you think a woman traveling alone at night would be helpless and easy prey? Is that what you expected?" I attempted to respond, my voice trembling. "Please, don't do this. It was just misunderstanding." She tightened her grip on the knife, intensifying the pressure. "You deliberately stopped your taxi here, away from prying eyes. You thought no one would ever find out, didn't you?" Desperation overtook me, and in panic, I attempted to pull away. But she swiftly grabbed my neck, her fingers surprisingly strong, almost choking the life out of me. Her calm facade was terrifying. She smiled darkly, whispering venomously into my ear. "You started this. Now finish what you began. Weren't you the one who turned off the air conditioning, manipulated the situation, and took advantage of my trust?" I shook my head, helplessly, pleading desperately. "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Just let me go." She laughed bitterly, eyes cold and unyielding. "Mistake? Do you realize how many times I've encountered men like you? Men who pretend kindness and compassion only to reveal their true, monstrous nature at the first opportunity. You're all the same. Predators hiding behind innocent smiles." As her words sliced through my ego, she suddenly pressed the knife deeper. I gasped as sharp pain surged through my body. My heart pounded in fear as I felt blood begin to trickle down my abdomen. Realizing the imminent danger, adrenaline surged through me, and with a desperate push, I managed to open the taxi door, tumbling clumsily out onto the deserted road. But she wasn't finished. Calmly, she exited the car, walking slowly toward me, knife glistening ominously in the moonlight. Panic consumed me as I stumbled backwards, clutching the bleeding wound. "Please stop," I shouted into the empty darkness. "I'm sorry, I swear." She continued advancing, eyes blazing with rage. "Sorry now, because you're hurt? Did you care about my pain when you put your hands on me?" Suddenly, she lunged forward, slicing again, her blade catching my flesh and deepening my wound. I cried out, my screams echoing into the stillness of the night. My legs felt numb, the world spinning as I desperately ran, staggering through the shadows, praying anyone, would appear to save me. She pursued relentlessly, her voice echoing behind me, taunting, bitter. "Where are you running? Isn't this what you wanted? To prey on someone vulnerable? Now face the consequences." I managed to stumble towards an area where faint lights indicated distant homes, my vision blurred, consciousness fading in and out. Just as exhaustion claimed me, my legs buckled and I collapsed onto the rough pavement, blood pooling beneath me. Darkness overwhelmed me, swallowing my awareness. When I finally opened my eyes, I was blinded by harsh, fluorescent lights, the sterile scent of antiseptic filling my lungs. Pain seared through my abdomen, throbbing as memories of the horrifying encounter flooded my mind. I was in a hospital room, white walls cold and clinical. Beside me stood my mother, her face etched with worry, and Noreen, my wife, whose gentle eyes glistened with tears of confusion and concern. "Thank God you're awake," my mother whispered, gripping my hand tightly. "We were terrified. Someone called and said you had been attacked." My eyes filled with shame. I felt exposed, vulnerable, unable to meet Noreen's gaze. My mother, oblivious to the truth, asked softly, "Son, who did this to you?" "The police have been asking." I hesitated, guilt gnawing painfully at my conscience. Noreen, quiet as always, simply held my other hand, silently, eyes filled with quiet hurt and unanswered questions. How could I explain my actions? How could I justify my intentions? Before I could answer, two police officers entered the room, eyes sharp, expressions stern. "We need your statement about what happened," one of them announced, his voice clinical, yet heavy with judgment. I stammered nervously, quickly fabricating a lie. "She was just a passenger. She attacked me suddenly. I don't know why." The officer glanced at his notes, his gaze piercing through my lies. "Listen carefully. We have surveillance footage. Your taxi was seen parked suspiciously in a deserted area. Who was she and what really happened?" His tone left no room for deception. Swallowing my pride, I confessed slowly, painfully. It was my fault. My intentions were wrong. She acted in self-defense. A heavy silence settled over the room. Noreen's eyes widened with shock, heartbreak etched clearly upon her face. The officer nodded knowingly, his voice cold but professional. "This isn't the first time she's defended herself against men like you. We've been tracking similar incidents. You're lucky she let you live." Fear chilled me to the core. The consequences of my actions were unfolding rapidly. The officer continued sternly, "The investigation will proceed. You'll have to face the consequences of your actions in court." My mind raced desperately. Shame, fear, and guilt overwhelmed me, drowning me in regret. What had I done? That evening, I returned home from the hospital deeply shaken. Noreen, still quiet and gentle, approached me, eyes filled with undeserved guilt. "Forgive me," she whispered softly. "If I had returned from my mother's house sooner, perhaps none of this would have happened." Her innocence broke me completely. For the first time, I recognized the cruelty I'd inflicted on her. Constant criticism, rejection, pushing her away because she didn't meet my superficial standards of beauty. I realized my mistake wasn't just what I'd done to the stranger, but also how I'd continuously wounded my own wife's heart. Overcome by remorse, I took her hand in mine, tears filling my eyes. "No, Noreen," I whispered, voice trembling. "The fault was entirely mine. I never appreciated you. I let superficial desires blind me. And now I've paid the price." She looked up, eyes wide with surprise and hope. For the first time in years, I saw her true beauty, not in her appearance, but in her gentle soul and unwavering loyalty. Yet even as I embraced her warmly, a dark shadow lingered in my heart. I couldn't erase the thought of the upcoming trial, knowing that my hidden sins would soon become public. What would happen when everyone learned the truth? What would happen when the woman I had wronged faced me again, confronting my betrayal before the world? My heart sank at the thought of facing her again, this time in a courtroom where all my hidden darkness would be fully exposed. A week passed, but the weight of guilt never left me. Each day felt like a countdown to the inevitable, the court hearing. I tried to carry on with life as usual, speaking gently to Noreen, helping my mother, pretending that things were fine, but deep inside, I was a storm of fear, regret, and dread. I couldn't sleep at night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, not as a victim, not as a threat, but as a mirror reflecting everything I had become. On the day of the hearing, I dressed in silence. I didn't take Noreen or my mother with me. I told them they didn't need to be there, that it was something I could handle alone. Cert component placement. I didn't have the courage to let them witness what I had done. I didn't want them to see the man I had become, stripped bare before the law and society. Inside the courtroom, my lawyer sat beside me, but even he looked unsure, like he couldn't fully defend someone who had admitted such an act. Moments later, the woman entered, the same woman who had nearly ended my life that night, but today she looked different. Not just powerful, but human. There were no sharp edges, no cold glares, just sadness and strength. The judge asked her to speak. What followed left everyone in stunned silence. She stood before the courtroom, her voice trembling but determined. Your Honor, I did not attack him out of vengeance. I defended myself. I've been living alone since my husband died. My parents are gone. My siblings have their own families. I have no one. I started working to survive, but surviving as a woman alone in this society is a battle. She paused, tears in her eyes, but didn't break. Men like him. She pointed at me without hate. Look at a woman alone at night and assume she's weak, desperate, or easy. They think our loneliness is an invitation. But I learned to protect myself. I carry a knife because I have to. I don't want to hurt anyone, but if it's between me and a predator, I choose to live. Her voice cracked as she said, why is it a crime for a woman to live alone, to travel alone? Why is it our fault when something happens to us? The courtroom was dead silent. She turned toward the judge again. I won't apologize for surviving. But if I'm punished today, then I ask that every man who ever touched a woman without consent be brought here too. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a woman who refused to be broken. Her words struck like thunder, and in that moment, I could no longer stay silent. I stood up, my voice shaky, but honest. She's telling the truth. Everything she said. I was the one who crossed the line. I misused her trust. I stopped the car in a dark place because I had the worst intentions. What happened to me? I deserved it. Gasps spread through the room. My lawyer tried to calm me, but I continued. She should not be punished for protecting herself. For anything, I should be held accountable. For what I did, and for all the other times I failed to respect the women in my life, especially my wife. The judge looked long and hard at both of us. Then he spoke. This court recognizes that self-defense is not a crime. The woman acted out of fear and in response to an immediate threat. Charges against her are dismissed. He turned to me. Your confession is noted. But since the injured party is not pressing charges and this is your first offense, this court will not proceed with a criminal sentence. However, let this be a lesson for you and for everyone here. Consent is not silence. Kindness is not permission. And no man has the right to assume control over a woman's body or choice. I was free, technically, but I had never felt more chained by the truth. As I left the courtroom, the woman passed by me. She paused for a second, looked into my eyes, not with hatred, but with warning, and then walked away, strong, unbroken. At home, I found Noreen sitting by the window. She turned and smiled softly. I walked up to her and fell to my knees. I don't deserve your forgiveness, I whispered, but I promise from this day forward, I will love you, Not for how you look, but for who you are. She took my hand and placed it gently on her heart. Then, let this be our N. Kindness, her will to survive, even when the world tries to break her. And the woman who held the knife? She wasn't a monster. She was the mirror we're all afraid to look into. Friends, this story moved you or made you think differently. Don't forget to share it. Sometimes, the most powerful lessons come from the darkest moments. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, stay kind,